Hello. Yes, good evening. Welcome back to Rototom Sunsplash 2022 Reggae University. It's a pleasure to have you all with us. As we await our special guest, just announcing our fellow panelists. Over here we have Pete Lilly and Ellen Koehlings, the joint editors of Riddim Magazine from Cologne, Germany. Over here we have Pier Tosi, broadcaster and journalist from Bologna, Italy. You have myself, David Katz, author and journalist based in London, UK. And without further ado, please give a warm Reggae University welcome to our special guest, Horace Sleepy Andy. Yes. Now, Horace Andy, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us here at the Reggae University at Rototom Sunsplash.
Oh, yes. Yeah, man. It's a pleasure, man. You know, I feel free. Look how much people.
Yeah, well, it's a warm environment, so make yourself at home. And at these sessions here at the Reggae University, we like to delve deep into the stories behind the music. So I'd like to begin this session just by having you enlighten the good people here at Rototom Sunsplash a little bit about your personal history. Tell us a little bit about what do you remember growing up? Where was that? How was it? Who was raising you? And what was life like?
Well, if I was to talk about that tonight, I'll know next year them time we don't finish. Come again, what you say again?
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about where did you grow up exactly? Were you raised in Kingston?
Yes, I was born in Kingston, and I grew up in Almontown and Jonestown. My father lived in Jonestown, my mom lived in Almontown. Anytime I do anything wrong, I just run down on my father, you know?
Okay. Okay, so is it that you were primarily raised by your mother there, but when things were wrong, you'd run to your father?
For rescue.
Right. And so what was life like in those communities? What's Almontown like as a place, or in your time there?
Well, in my time, well, how must I say now? Growing up, you know, Carl Dawkins was one of my mentor, Milton Henry. Then you have Phil Pratt, you know. We used to go over race course. That's where if anyone goes to Kingston, they must see race course. That's where I used to practice.
So you mean you went over by the racetrack where they used to race horses?
No, it's not a racetrack.
No? Tell me about it.
It's like a big park.
Okay.
And it's near my house, you know. So on the Skylarking album, you must see me standing. That's where I grew up.
Right.
That's what we call race course.
Okay.
You know, anytime my mom make after me, I used to run. And when I run, she said, race course, I'm a country. So I always run.
Okay. So you're saying some of your early mentors that you just mentioned there, Carl Dawkins, a very soulful Jamaican singer?
Yeah, man. I grew up, we used to walk behind Carl, because he has his guitar, you know? And him and Milton Henry, you know, that's where I get my first little start from, because I never wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a guitarist like Jimi Hendrix.
Okay.
So that's how I used to practice every day. But all my friends, sleepy, you can't sing, you know. Go on, go try it.
So they recognized your talent and they encouraged you.
Yeah, man. And we used to have singing contests. And I would win. Sometimes I would win with "Get Away with Your Cause, we don't want it." I used to win a lot of times with that.
Right.
But I didn't grow up with Alton Ellis them. They were much bigger, you know. And Virgins, I used to hear about it, but I've never been there. And I started in 1970. My first song was 1966. I couldn't sing, honestly. Could never sing.
Well, since you've mentioned your first song, 1966, let's take a little listen to a bit of track one, see what memories it brings up for you, and we'll see if the audience thinks whether you could sing or not.
This is a black man's country. That could treat them like a real kid. This is a black man's country. That could treat them like a real kid. They work so hard just to build up the country. They work so hard just to be what they.
That sounds horrible, man.
Well,
As you hear, I can't sing. You could hear the nervous. So hard. I was so nervous, boy, it was a shame. You know? But that's my first trial. And I can't sing. You couldn't hear that. I couldn't sing. That's
So-
learning.
tell us about how the recording came about. Who did you do it for, and what happened exactly?
Well, the same, I was sitting down in race course, same place, and I was playing the guitar, you know, and a young man stopped, and he must listen, you know, and he must say, come and say, youth man, you sound good, you know. And say, my brethren, that's how, you know, Sunshot label, him came with the Phil Pratt, but the song was his song, it wasn't my song.
And your friend who carried you there, what was his name?
Errol, that's all I can remember. I haven't seen him, but I don't see him again in about 30 years.
So you mean he wrote the song and he
Yeah.
introduced it to you?
Yeah, yeah. And that's how I really start. But then in 1970, that's when it's really started, you know. I went to Studio One. It seemed like how you see I'm laughing. When I went in the studio and I said, you got to be sure. You know, every time, oh, they laugh. Leroy Simmons put his bass down and all the musicians laugh because they never hear this kind of voice, you know.
Yeah, you came with a very different style. So let's have a little piece of track two, and we'll just remind ourselves of how different that sound was.
Got to be sure of woman's love. We got to be sure of woman's love. They'll cheat away through your best friend. They'll cheat away to make love again. We got to be sure of woman's love. They tell all along that you don't love them.
That was my first song in Studio One in 1970, you know. So when I started to sing, they all laugh at me. Because you see, I was laughing a while ago. David! You got to be sure. And then I sung some things on my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I couldn't sing like that again. I just don't know. I couldn't get it right. Wow, wow, I couldn't get it like that. You know, and I record just say, ooh, see a man face, every tongue shall tell. And I wasn't singing in the rhythm.
Okay.
It was up in my throat. So all those rhythms were there. right? And I remember 1971, August, when I went, you know, I said I'm gonna go to the studio. And Barry Eptones, him saw me, you know, and him said, and Mr. Dad gave me the song, "Woy, woy, yo, what a funny man." You know, so them used to tease me and call me funny man. So him saw me the day and him said, "Funny man, where you come from? Sing harmony." I was devastated. I was so devastated. That means trying to tell me I can't sing.
Right.
You know? And I said, all right. And I went away and I practiced. And I practiced. And I practiced. 2, 3 o'clock. My mom used to say, "Stop it, what? Was it not nice?" Can I say the word? You know? That's no music. That's no music. Monty Morris, Derek Morgan, Prince Buster, she tell me the music are music. What I'm doing is not music.
Right.
And I practice. So in 1972, you know, that's when I went back to Studio One. You know, and I saw Mr. Dad this Sunday, and I said to him, "Mr. Dad, can I do a song?" And him say, "Yes, youth, you can do a song." Well, so when I went and tell Morris, he was the engineer.
Sylvan Morris, yes.
Yes. You know, Lara Marshall was doing Thelma. It's a song that I love too. You know, he was just doing the rhythm, Thelma. And Morris went up to him and said, "Mr. Dad, same to do a tune." He never see me, because I came in behind him.
Okay.
You know, and he said, "Mr. Dad, same to do a tune. I'm going to make him stay for the last, dead last." I never say anything. I heard what he said. And I never forget that evening when there's Mark on the keyboard and said, "Come, youth. Stand up there, sir. Sing." And I started to sing. "My baby don't go. My baby don't." They were all married. They couldn't believe it. You know? And when I went back the Tuesday to voice it, Mr. Dad was in the front. And I never know. So after I voiced the song and come round, I saw Mr. Dad sitting in the chair and he spin round and he looked at me and he went, because he had faith in me, you know, when everybody laughed after me, right? So I recorded all over those songs. That's when I did Skylarking, you know. After
Okay.
they say I couldn't sing.
Okay, give us a little taste of track 3 since you just mentioned the iconic Skylarking, one of the greatest reggae songs of all time. So give us a little taste of that.
That's what youths do today. Skylarking, before they stand up firm on their feet. Get a little.
So, Horace Andy, what inspired that song and what are you really trying to express in the song?
Well,
And please come close to the microphone.
oh yes, oh yes. But that one verse will sound better, man.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, you know. I don't know. You know, even me used to beg 5 cents and 10 cents, you know.
You used to do that?
Yeah, we all grew up as a young man, you know, the bigger man, them, you know, like I would say, Milton beg a 10 cent, no? That song just came. It just came as a reality, you know. And
Okay.
I was going to Ethiopian World Federation, and that's where I get all of these inspiration from, you know. I used to muta True the Bible says so, true this. I used to ask all of them. You know, I used to ask all of them, man. And it took me 3 years. It took me 3 years to learn to sing. When I first went to Studio One, 1972, 71, 72, 73, that's 3 years. But I eventually, you know, Mr. Dad was a really great man, you know. He had faith in me when he hear me. And, you know, although they laughed after me, it gave me more courage, man, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of things that I'm hoping you can enlighten the good people here about a little more. Studio One is renowned as the place where many Jamaican icons got their start, including your good self, Bob Marley and the Wailers, Ken Booth, the Heptones, you name it. It's often described as Jamaica's Motown, and Clement Sir Coxsone Dodd, who founded it, has a particular reputation. What can you tell us about your experience of Studio One? What was it like coming there as an unknown singer? Who did you learn from? And what was Mr. Dodd like as a person?
Well, he was a humble man. You know, he gave me the name, you know, because Justin Hines is my first cousin, and that's where one of my main inspiration came from. And you know, I remember when I did them songs, and he said to me, "What is your name?" And I said, "Horace Hines." And he walked away. He walked away, and he came back, and he said, "Why don't you say Horace Andy like you have a Bob Andy?" And I said, "Okay."
Right.
And that was it. So my dad was vexed. You know, "Oh, you can't call your name Andy, I ain't name Andy." My dad wanted to hear Horace Hines, the last name, you know. No, but my Studio One, as a youth man, I get a lot of fight too, you know, because some of the older ones, them like Larry Marshall, you know, like them never want a youth bus out, you know. For real. Because I remember, that's where I learned, Mark, your Studio One is high school, whatever school, university, college, that's where I learned to play most of the instruments. And I remember I came one day, and when I went round to practice on the piano, I saw the signs all around. Instrument must not be played by out of management. And I said, no, it's not right. It's not right. And I went round, like it's you and Mr. Dad, you know, and he said, "Horace, what's the problem now?" And I said, "Mr. Dad, is you put up the signs that instrument must not be played?" He said, "Youth, go and go play." And when I was around there practicing, those, so I don't want to say anything bad, sitting there, watch me, and can't say nothing. They couldn't say nothing. They never want me to learn.
Okay.
You know, they never want me to learn, and I can't figure it out. Why? But I pull through, man. You know, the Father is the Almighty. You know,
Okay.
what Him said has to be done. It has to be done.
Okay, so it sounds like
Yeah.
it was quite a learning experience for you there.
Yeah, man. They couldn't stop it. They could never stop it.
And then also you mentioned that when you wrote Skylarking, you were already attending teachings at the Ethiopian World Federation. So I wonder if you can tell the good people here about your experience of the Rastafari faith. How did it manifest itself in your life? And what was the environment like at the Ethiopian World Federation, your local charter there?
Well, I'm really glad I went. You know, 'cause I remember even when I voiced those songs, me not going like me a bad man. Why I'm bad? you know, you have friends, and you know when you walk. I wasn't even think when I record those songs, I never know that would have happened. Because my friend came to me and he said, "Sleepy, you sing one song said just say who?" I said, "Just say who?" I said, "No, I just say who." He said, "I mash up the road. Are you sing that song there?" I'm say just I never know what was happening, you know, cause me I go and like me bad. My friend them walk up and down and give me trouble, you know. So I went to Skateland, and that's how I really realized what was happening in my life that I never knew about. There was a sound named King Patrick, and when they started to play my selection, because in those days there was selection. I tell you the truth, I sit down and I said, no, I just can't believe it. And you know, they would play 4 or 5 songs, see a man face, every time she'll tell Scott, I said, what? That's how I start to believe now, you know? And I stop walk up and down with certain people, start going Studio One every day, you know, and Ethiopian World Federation play a great part. Okay. Because if it wasn't for Ethiopian World Federation, probably I would have been here. Because I wanted a gun like Clint Eastwood.
Right.
And I wanted a gun like Claude Massop. Jamaica main bad man, you know? Because when you grow up, you see all these things, you see them passing the gun to me, and I say, boy, I want a gun like that, you know? Which was so, it was all right. But you don't know. You know, but I really give thanks that Ethiopian World Federation put me on the right track until this day.
Okay.
Yeah,
yes. So essentially you're saying that Rastafari stopped you from taking the wrong path.
Yes.
Okay, now there came a time when you left Studio One, you started to record for various different producers. You made some incredible hits and some incredible music. What can you remember of the time after Studio One?
Well, after Studio One, you know, I started to record with Bunny Lee. You know, I can't believe I sing, sometimes I can't believe I sing so much songs. Because in those days, he wasn't worrying about money. We just love sing. So, and every time you sing, you have to wait 3 months to get royalties. So, that's why I sing so much. It was my destiny. I never, it was paved out from before I born, man, you know? Because you get the blessing in your mother's womb. That's where the blessing come from. You don't born and come and get the blessing, my brother. You get it in your mother's womb. Trust me. Okay.
Well, since you mentioned the great producer Bunny Striker Lee, let's take a little listen to track 7.
But Phil Pratt was before.
Yes.
Was before Bunny Lee. You know?
Yes, and many others. But let's take a little listen to track 7 nonetheless, see what you can tell us about it. Yeah.
I made that song for my son mother, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, it just come like that, man. You know, it just look at her one day and say, "You're my angel," you know. And I just start to, "You are my boy." Music, the songs them just come out your head. It's like the Father is telling you. You know, every time you hear a voice talking, I know everyone must experience that. 2 person talking to you. So you have to know the right one.
Right.
Right? And, you know, that's how it comes. You will sit down, smoke a spliff or maybe a chalice, and just start home. And it just come like that. It's just very natural. You know, I didn't plan anything, you know. And then when Massive Attack did it over, I wasn't there. I was in Jamaica. And them said to me that they have one track that I sing that I do over. You know, they want me to listen to it. And when I heard it, I said, what? It was one of the biggest hits. Respect 3D, man, you know? He's a brilliant young man.
Yes, and then of course you developed a strong working relationship with Massive Attack.
Yeah, man. I was the daddy, you know. I was the daddy. They were all young. You know, and I encouraged them so much over the years, you know. Tell them don't drink like that. You can smoke all the herb, but no drinking.
Okay. Now, obviously, the back catalog of Horace Andy is deep, wide, and limitless. But since we have limited time, we're going to move forward in time, see what you can remember, remind us of a few tracks. Let's take a little bit of track 13 and see what you remember about this project, this connection.
Was in the sky, according to the teaching that I learned in school. Oh, how they used to beat us to turn a fool. But now I'm in the light, and it's shining bright. I'm in the light, and it's shining bright. When I was a little child, they used to say, Rastaman is no good. I know
Him when he walked down the street. You know, I used to love that song, really love that song. I haven't seen it in years on stage, you know. But I used to love it so much.
Yeah, it's an incredible track, and of course it was the title track of a very impressive album,
Yes.
In the Light. What can you tell us about recording that album? Who did you record it for? What musicians were you working with? And what was the inspiration behind that song?
Well, I used to live in Hartford, Connecticut. You know, when I went to America, and that's where it came from. And my virgin in Everall, you know, may him rest in peace, you know, he passed away. That's how we did that. We did that album, and I was living in Connecticut, but I wasn't recording, and I did not sing for 26 years. I didn't make a song, and most people don't know.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, how did you end up in Hartford, Connecticut? How and why?
Well, you know, living in America, it's not easy because they push away our music, you know. They just want, you can't get in, it's so hard to get into that American vibes because they push it away. And they used to call Rasta dirty head, you know, and it wasn't really nice. You know, and I was there for a while, then I went back home. You know, I went back home. But now I started to go to England because I find out that England is where the reggae music is, England and France. You know, I've never recorded a song for 26 years. Not one song. That's why Dennis Brown them sing and sing and sing. You know, and then because of Massive Attack. Because when I met Massive Attack, you know, it's just massive, massive, massive. I stopped recording for these unscrupulous peoples.
Right.
You know? They were all and so unfair. And even the big record companies, you know, like Trojan, you know, they were so unfair. BMG, all of them. So I didn't record no music. So people were wondering how I don't record no song and it's still around. the
Right.
Almighty, from You Live Good, you know. I was just, and that's why that's the last album I did, In the Light, with Everall, you know. And I play the guitar, Can't play my guitar no more, you know, it's so sad.
Oh, you mean because you had an injury?
Yeah. But it was really nice, man, you know. And my favorite song on that album is Leave Rasta.
Okay.
That's my favorite song.
Well, let's take a listen to another song that came out of that period when you first moved to the U.S. And there's another massive attack connection. So, track 14, let's take a little taste of that.
You live in the city, you mind your own business. What you see, you don't see. But some people, they always see. They never mind their own business. You move to the country, you live in the hill.
Well, that song, I made it with Light Bonds. That's when he put out the Horace Andy dancehall style.
Yes.
And it becomes a big hit with massive attack. You know, I never know it will happen. You know, they choose the song, and they tell me they did another one on my other song again. And when I hear it, it was so brilliant. I couldn't refuse it. I
Right.
had to voice it, you know.
And
And Light Bonds, it was good. It was, you know, cause Lighty, you know, I would leave Radford and go to New York, and I would spend 2-3 days, you know, around him. Then I would go back home. But still, I said England was, you know, I remember when I went going to England the first time, I was 10 years late. When I went to England, I had to start all over again. It's like no one remember me. Because I wasn't singing. But
well,
that's how it goes, man, you know?
since you mentioned that, so let's play a little bit of track 15, which you recorded right when you first arrived in London, and it had a very different style.
Hang on, my people. Hang on to Jaya. Hang on, my people. Don't let.
No, because I love that Gregory Isaac is so brilliant. He's one of the best writers. You know, he's so brilliant. And I love that song. You know, that's why I did it over, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, man. You know, you have artists who inspire you, you know? And you love them songs, you know? I mean, and Gregory were so close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so and we've reached the point where we're going to open things up for question and answer with the audience here. So this is your chance to put your questions to our special guest, Horace Andy. We've got one question in the middle here.
Sorry. You can record it, please. You can record it. Yeah, Mr. Hein, thank you for the information. And I want to rewind your memories to the year 1976. First question is, at that time you still be in Jamaica?
1976.
That was like...
1976 January. That's when I went to America.
Okay, so you haven't been to the Smile Jamaica concert at the now Hero Circle of Bob Marley?
Yeah, I was there, but I wasn't involved, you know.
I know you haven't been involved.
I was far away because the crowd that he had around him, they were nice. They wasn't nice people. You know?
It was a heavy crowd.
Yeah, and it was pure bad guys, you know.
So, but yeah, you have been to the venue and listened and saw the show.
It was in Race Course. Yes, I was there.
So, what do you remember from that night? Because it was a very special night.
It was when Bob Marley hung up the Prime Minister, you know, and the two of them and said they must get together, you know. You know, me as a Rasta man, me never vote for me ban. And me not like politicians, them too damn lie. You know, and I remember when them give away, all of my friends, I don't want to talk about it, but they give us 7 guns then. You know?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, to fight the politics. And I said, no, I can't do that. So I never get involved in it. Because how can I get involved with because shoot up on my friends where we grow up with? I could never do that. So me not like a politician, me not care what no one wants to say. That's my opinion.
But you mean you were facing that kind of pressure in your community? Where
Yes. You know, so that's 1976. You know, one side of the pub, one side was drawing me, and this side was drawing me. So I ran away and left it.
So it was at the beginning of 1976 you left Jamaica then? Because of political pressure? Or?
Yes, yes,
All right.
yes.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, we have another question over here on the left.
Horace Andy, thank you for all of your great work, your great song. You did a lot of song about your deep faith in Rastafarism.
Yeah, man.
And you also made song about repatriation. So my question is, what is the meaning for you of repatriation?
Well, we should go forward home. Africa is where our ancestors came from. And I think we should go back there, you know? That's my opinion. I think we shouldn't be in the West. You know, we were brought here by force. And we were given, you know, the names that wasn't ours. You know, how I became Horace Hines. That's not my right name. You know, if you mind him was Mumbo Bumbo Jumbo, I don't care. You know, I should have an African name, but it's where I grew up. And your parents, you know, your parents were brought up learning the English way. You know, the English way. And then I remember as a young man, you know, I always wonder why you have a church. And this is a church, and this is where they send the slaves away. You know, the door of nowhere. So why you have a church and doing all that cruelty? And, you know, that's how my eyes open to a lot of things. Our atrocities were never filmed. They were never filmed. All that evil that happened to our ancestors, our great foreparents, it was never on film. It was so sad, you know. Yes, 6 million Jews were killed, but how much black people died coming across the Atlantic? Millions and millions, man.
Yes.
You know? It was so sad. How can somebody pack you like sardine? Who is on top, piss on you? Pieces on you, everybody, boy, it's so sad, you know.
Yes, indeed.
But that's those things gave me inspiration, you know. And I used to love read about Marcus Garvey. I used to love read about the slavery in America, in Jamaica. I read about Paul Bogle. You know, when I was reading those books, I didn't know I was being groomed. I was being groomed. You know, and by reading those books, you know, and I started to write. You know, that's how everything comes, man, you know?
Okay.
It's so horrible, man. You know, they only show what was happened to us in films, right? But for the real thing, then you know they never film. There was no filming when things were happening to our our ancestors. It was never been put on film.
Sure.
To show that this is what happened.
Well, yeah, thank you for giving us something good out of something really evil and bad, you know?
I'm a revolutionary. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe in equal rights and justice.
So, just to remind, a couple of quick reminders. On the main stage this evening at 8:15 p.m., the one and only Horace Andy. Do not miss it. Also, tomorrow, we will be right here at the Reggae University, 4 p.m. for the screening of the film. Oh, you got some more to say?
Sharon, it's an honor to be here to talk to you, you know? It's an honor. Yeah. And it's Rastafari why I'm here. Really and truly. If it wasn't about Rastafari and about other things that I learned about my people, probably I wouldn't be here, you know? Yes, and I learned my kids them, you know? Learn my children them. And I know, even two of them won't do what they dad do. For real. The second one named Little Willie.
Oh.
Two of them love sing, they love sing. I just sit and watch. My daughter is making up her own songs. So, you know.
So the next generation coming up is going to continue the Andy way.
Yeah, man. I have one of my daughters, she's 18. You're not going to hear about her. All right? You're not going to hear about her.
Okay, so stay tuned for that.
Bad Nayas.
Okay, yeah, one more time for our special guest, Horace Andy. Just to remind, tomorrow we will be here, 4 p.m., for a screening of the film Studio 17, The Lost Reggae Tapes, followed by a Q&A with Reshma B., a presenter on that film. And then we've got a double header, 6:30 p.m. We will be honored by the presence of none other than The Messenger, conversation with Luciano. And Horace Andy, just to remind, you've got a new album on the road, so if you, as you make your exit and take your rest, we can give a bit of track 19 from the new album, Midnight Rocker.
Show them the way, Jaja steer them right. From foolishness, never leave their side. Day by day, night by night. Steer them clear, Jaja be their guide. Oh, 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 Jah, oh, God, beg you watch over them. Steer them from the corner, don't let them get a hold of them. Oh, Jah, oh, God.
It's a bad song. But that's not my favorite song though. My favorite song is Hurt Must Be Hell. Let me play my favorite song. Hurt Must Be Hell. Okay. This is my favorite song. I recorded this song about 30 years ago.
Rastafari, last year, see?